Hey guys, it is me here talking to you about the month of August. So, this is a month that I've obviously been talking about for several months. And I just kind of want to give you guys the skinny on all of the pieces that are just going to be coming together as we're moving through the month of August. You guys will be hearing later today. I did a little bit of a audio kind of note detailing, really talking to you mutables out there. So any of you guys who have Pisces, Gemini, Sagittarius, or Virgo placements, I got a special message for you guys, which you'll be hearing later on. But this month, if you have that mutable energy, you are going to get your shit rocked. Like, there's just no other way to say it. There's a lot of stuff that's coming up, coming in, coming towards you. And it's going to challenge you and challenge where you have been, where you think you are now, and certainly where you're going to go next. So I wanted to just come in and actually give you guys an opportunity to maybe take a look at the chart of the month, because I think you guys should see it. Give me a second. Okay, let's go all the way back to, I think, my first actual, let's start here. Oh, hell, I messed up. Plays music. Boom. Okay. So we have the very first day of August, and I think this is a great place to start, right? We see that there's some energy here that's starting to build up between Venus moving through Leo and Uranus here in Taurus. It's not official yet, but it's getting close. And anytime Venus and Uranus meet, it speaks for shakeups financially. It speaks for shakeups in terms of attraction. And it speaks for shakeups in terms of our values. We might suddenly no longer resonate with something that we really felt passionate about, that we were really into. This is why you'll hear a lot of astrologers say this is a breakup transit, because it very much is. Because energetically, when we are dealing with Venus and Uranus, Uranus turns things on its side, it turns things upside down, it shifts things, it makes breakthroughs capable of being recognized. And that's what Venus does. And Venus and Leo, what I love about Venus and Leo is the recognition of their own star power. And it could be like, why am I still doing that? That doesn't matter to me anymore. Why am I still doing that? That doesn't resonate with me anymore. Like, you are done with something very specifically right now. And that's what Venus square Uranus can do for you. So look out if you have placements that are pretty close to this, because you could be like, I'm breaking out of this old, pattern emotionally. I'm breaking out of this old pattern, financially. I'm breaking out of this old pattern with regard to my stability. So hopefully that works out really well for you. Gonna move through the chart. So today, most importantly, let me just change the time so you guys can actually see the new moon. So the new moon is at 4:13 a.m. on the West Coast. And we can see that because, as you can see here, we have the sun and the moon both at 12 degrees of Leo. That's how we know that there is a new moon happening, because the sun and the moon are conjunct. So I talked a lot about the Leo new moon in my Leo new moon post that I typed up, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. But I think that there's a lot of opportunity for themes surrounding self-worth, your own talent. There's like this call to go for it with this Leo new moon energy. And some of you could really feel inspired to do so, especially coming off of that Venus Uranus square. Like, you know what? I broke out of this cycle. I'm going to go ahead and take this big leap that feels like it's right for me, that feels like I'm ready for it, that I feel inspired and empowered with. So that's going to be something that I think is going to be pretty thematic for a lot of you, as we're just moving through that part of the beginning of the month. And from here, I don't want to say it all kind of goes downhill, but essentially, the middle of this month gets rough, guys. That there's no really other way to put it. And like, we have some nice stuff happening. So let me rewind. So as you can see, we've got the sun in Leo, even up before the new moon. The sun in Leo is making some really nice contact with the Gemini energy in your chart right now. So wherever Gemini and Leo are in your chart, there are some good connections that are happening here. So there's new developments. One of my favorite things about Gemini and Leo energy is it's kind of childlike in its expression, right? So when we're looking at Gemini in Leo energy, we're feeling creative and expressive and explorative, and we're curious even, and we can be both student and teacher with this energy, because that's kind of the way that expansiveness opens up. So, you know, if I were a Cancer rising, I would be looking at this like, maybe this is a time for me to open up my inner expanse. How can I feel better about myself? How can I change my old thought patterns about myself? How can I change my old relationship with patterns when I meet people, like that I've had up to this point? Like, there's a shift there in the dynamic, like exploring new options, right? For being myself, for loving myself, exploring new options for, you know, creating boundaries with myself and with the relationships I'm part of, creating new boundaries with myself and like my experiences that I want to integrate that are important, and experiences that I can just kind of throw to the wayside. Like, these are some of the themes that come up, because that's what Leo and Gemini do, right? They touch, what do? They're children. How do children learn? Through sensory, right? Through experience. They need to touch it, feel it, smell it, taste it, all the things. That is what you are maybe experiencing in this Leo Gemini area of your chart. How can I expand some part of myself? So it's like super nice. This is still, like, you see underneath this new moon, which I talked about in that last post. We also, as you can see here, you still have this active sextile working out. It still feels really nice for these first few, you know, days into weeks. Look, we've got Venus and Mercury moving towards a conjunction. That's kind of when things start. I actually really like Venus and Mercury. This will happen kind of overnight, the 7th and into the 8th. Venus conjunct Mercury, and it'll happen at 3 degrees, which we know is the Gemini degree. So this is like, talk it out, dude. Like, sit down, plan it out, talk it out, think it through, figure out like what is the shared value, right? That we're trying to agree upon, or that we're both coming from, and then let's build upon it. So there's a lot of opportunity here for restructuring, for getting things straight, for figuring things out, and really putting new pieces together. And making things click in a way that maybe they haven't previously, that also feel really good and help create stronger routines for you and bring about a lot of like peace and calm amidst where there could be some chaos kind of brewing or having brewed. And even look, we've got the sun sextile Jupiter. This is great. You know, from my post that I put up recently about sextiles, we know that they're seeking to come together. There's multiplicity here. The sun and Jupiter already have a really special bond. And so when these two planets are coming together and in this aspect, in this way, there's a lot of opportunities for, you know, expression of wisdom, expansion of self. This is like, to me, when Sun and Jupiter are touching, it's a time for us to maybe seek out some new goals, revisit some goals, and try things out. I'm just going to edit the chart time. We don't need to only see Cancer rising energy. Okay. So yeah, things are moving through. Let's kind of jump to, is it the 9? Okay, here we go. Well, technically to me, okay, this is to me. Things start to get a little bit interesting really right around the 9th. And this is in the 10th. I'm sorry, this is the 10th, but I'll go back a day. Oops. For the 9th. And this is because we are now starting to build into a square here between Mars and Saturn and Jupiter and Saturn. And so these are some of the bigger squares of the month that are going to pose those challenges that I was talking to Immutables about, and also pose these challenges just in general, okay? As a mutable, something I talk about, and not too frequently because I'm not a political astrologer, but if we do believe that the chart of the United States is the Sagittarius rising, we believe Saturn is in the 4th house and we have Mars in its 7th house. This could be a time where we are dealing with some real issues in the fabrics of our country, our privacy, so to speak. I actually see this as a part or the potential for something getting put on blast, hopefully not literally, because Mars is involved with Saturn. But this is like a long time coming, potentially, of two things meeting, right? The 4th house being the inside of our homes, our most private sector of our charts, where we really keep it locked up, and the 7th house, which is other people, open enemies, business ties. There could be some sort of disruption regarding like the fabric of the business model of our country that comes to a head, and it's big news because we're talking Gemini, so gossip, talk, communication, messages. This also could speak to, okay, I'm getting some like tech vibes with that Pisces and Gemini, like media goes down maybe. I also, with everything that's going on with Boar's Head right now, there could be some more situations similar to that having to do with who we trade with and what like really pushes our country's economy forward. Especially when it comes to food, especially when it comes to technology. Maybe the production of food is a theme that comes up during that time. But regardless, we have to come face to face with the problems that we've maybe caused. That's usually what Saturn and Mars is. And not even that. A lot of times what I see Saturn and Mars squares as is buck up, bitch, you got to get it done. That's essentially what you have to deal with when it comes to Saturn and Mars, because it is, you have to do something. You probably don't want to do it. You'd rather not do it. Maybe you don't like the idea of doing it, but it's there to be done by you. So get to it. It is a temp check of you can't do that. You can't go that far. You have to go back to where you came from to recognize like where maybe you've disrupted something, and then can move before you can move forward and progress. Okay, like here's an idea is like, say you ran away from home and your parents were super scared, you freaked them out, and then you just come back in and stroll in and just go to bed. They're sitting on the couch, you open the key, you use your key to open the door, you just stroll in and go to bed. Don't say any words, don't have anything to say, you just like that. It's like, oh, hell no, right? The mom who comes and chases you upstairs or chases you in your room and is like, fuck you doing? Like, we were freaking terrified. What is going on? That's kind of what Mars square Saturn is like, It is a reaping of what you've sown, and it's not something that you can get away from. It is what it is. Here it is. What you gonna do with it? What you gonna do with it? That's a big part of Mars square Saturn. And so there is sometimes a need to refocus our attention, which means maybe cutting off things, cutting off people, shifting the relationship dynamics that we have with people. So there is a stronger boundary up, because there could be some surprises, misfortune, or things just happening in general that we're not too fond of. So with Mars square Saturn, look at this as like the necessary, it's like Ned Stark in Game of Thrones, right? Like you, the man who, makes a sentence has to execute. And so that's kind of what it is. Whatever you've done or haven't done, there is a moment. And this is a long-term frustration. Like I said, this just starts here on the 9th, okay? We still have a long way to go before it even gets exact. But that's a lot, and that's a big part of it. Now, I do want to get into kind of like the crux of it, which is when we get into like around the 12th, okay? The energy is really going to change because, as you can see, Mars and Jupiter are now getting very close to Saturn. And I talk about Jupiter Saturn a lot with you guys, right? To me, it's one of two ways. Jupiter square Saturn is either going to magnify like where you are facing restrictions and blockages because of Jupiter's influence. Whatever Jupiter touches, it expands. Or, your Saturnian balance, your Saturnian, restriction that you've placed on yourself is rewarded 10 times over because you've done the work to get where you are. So that's kind of one or the two that this energy is going to be moving towards as Mars square Saturn. This can be even like, it feels like it's good, but kind of sort of energy, because with Jupiter and Saturn, it's like, whew, okay, this is exactly what I've worked hard to get. This is exactly what I've worked for. Okay, this is exactly what I worked for. This is exactly what I worked so hard to get. And there could be some feelings of frustration and even regret sometimes, like, because Jupiter does sometimes make us have to come to terms with loss. Like, hey, man, what did it take for me to get here? Who did I have to give up? What did I have to give up? Like, how have I grown? What has my, wisdom created over the course of experience for me that I can now be aware of, that is like ingrained? Because that's what Saturn wants to do too. It wants to ingrain itself into your process in your life, right? So that's a big part of what you could be dealing with. But it is very strong. And as you can see, it is coming together in a major way. It is going to be, we've got like a conjunction squaring off with Saturn, Mars conjunct Jupiter. So feeling a lot of, I think with Mars and Jupiter and Gemini, I think that there's a lot of feelings of frustration on where we maybe get distracted, where we maybe are escapists, where we maybe are too close to other people. I know that like, like we might just be feeling like, fuck, I need a break, or I need a little bit more for me, or just feeling like this is a good time to check in. If somebody or something, especially somebody or someone you are in close relationship with or to, is really getting on your nerves, it's because they're mirroring something that maybe you are lacking or that you need to self-interrogate. So that's what Gemini energy does. It's a mirror, right? So with Mars and Jupiter, it's like you're really recognizing things about yourself through other people that are maybe frustrating, and it could be elevating you. And that's your sign to check in and take what you're getting and be reflective, not reactive. Unfortunately, though, Jupiter and Mars and Gemini is extremely reactive. I think I saw someone tweet that this energy is going to be on Kanye's like sun, so that and he's a Gemini, so we can expect, quite a bit of blaring energy. Maybe he's going to say something, maybe he's going to drop something, maybe he's going to do something. I'm certainly interested to see. I don't remember exactly Kendrick Lamar's birthday, but that could be a point of, motion for him as well. With this, I don't know when Grammy noms and stuff start to get talked about or discussed, but that could be something we find out later. Because remember, Jupiter is moving on up, but it is going to retrograde here and not too far from now. So we are getting pretty close. We're within 5 degrees of where Jupiter is going to retrograde, which is 21 degrees of Gemini. So a lot of what's happening right now is definitely going to come back around and be relevant. Certainly as we move through the rest of the year. So that's, I think, all I have to say about that. There's that Mars-Jupiter conjunction, official on the 14th, guys. Watch out now. We're going to have the sun trine Chiron on the 15th. That could be some saving grace. Recognize your faults and your flaws. Give yourself the space and the, grace for having dealt with them, and find a way to heal yourself and get over it, move past it. I feel like this is a correction of a childhood wound. I don't know how many of you have been hearing me, but something I've just been saying lately is like, everyone has a childhood wound, right? Like, people either have codependency issues or abandonment issues or a mix of both. Everyone. So, right? I think I said, like, if 1 out of 2 people, or 1 out of 2 couples are ending up in divorce, then that means every person you meet, you can probably assume if you are not the person who comes from the family of divorce, they do. So get the fuck over it. Like, to me, this is like an initiation of like, enough crying about my childhood, enough crying about what happened in my past. I get to take control of my future and be the one who's in charge. But Mars is also going to officially square Saturn this day on the 15th. See, at 17 degrees. So shit is going to get real, real quick. Something else we're watching is Venus preparing to get into its T-square with Saturn. So Venus opposing Saturn, as well as Venus squaring off with Jupiter and Mars. And Venus in Virgo is Venus in detriment, right? We know that Venus in Virgo is a hard placement because it is the perfectionist. Venus in Virgo wants things to look really good. They want things to feel really good. They want things to be very predictable, and they want to critique them. And in some cases, critiques can be difficult because, once again, mercurial energy, it's great at seeing outward, doesn't always necessarily see inward. So Venus in Virgo can make us hypercritical of other people, but not necessarily critical enough of ourselves or our own actions. Now, this is going to be kind of a loud theme, especially as we move into, first of all, the squares that it'll experience first, which is with Jupiter, okay? Venus squared Jupiter in 2 mercurial signs, and both of these signs are operating from detriment, is going to bring about a lot of hyperfixation on facts and the small print. It's really important not to get so lost in the big picture that you negate what you need to actually do to be present to maintain the big picture. Sometimes it's like Gemini say, yeah, got the message, got the lesson. But that application is where Virgo succeeds. You might find that just because you are attracted to this thing or you really want this thing does not mean that you have the fortitude to sustain this thing, whatever that thing might be. And so you might need to figure out what parts of that can you apply to whatever you're trying to accomplish so you can sustain whatever goal it is that you have in mind for yourself. But it's not the easiest thing. Then the most important part of this is Venus in its moving opposition to Saturn. Venus opposite Saturn is one of those make and break transits. When Venus comes in, a lot of times, we are hyper focused on what we're attracted to and what we can stabilize, certainly when it's in an earth sign. But we have Saturn in Pisces. And I've been talking to my Virgo people. My Virgo risings have been going through it. Remember, Neptune has been in their seventh house pretty much since 2012. So my Virgo rising people have dealt with a lot of changes with their relationships with other people, a lot of changes with their relationship with themselves, a lot of bypassing. Virgo risings have had to come to terms with what they've been doing, which is bypassing flaws and not following up on things that they really should investigate, not trusting themselves, not separating from partners when it's time for us to fly away and do our own thing. That's a big part of this. And Venus opposite Saturn is the realization that, hey, we're either in this and we're doing this for the long haul, or fuck, I cannot waste my time here anymore. You gotta go. So the next aspect on the 17th comes up. Jupiter square Saturn official and Mercury square Uranus. So this is going to take us back because Mercury square Uranus technically was something that took place. I want to say Mercury squared Uranus when Biden dropped out of the announcement for the presidency. Sudden shifts that need to be communicated to the masses, and they're very quick, not expected. Coming from a leader, someone in a leadership role, it fell really well in the chart of the United States because sixth house Uranus, where it's transiting, is domestic affairs. Coming from higher leadership, a shift in domestic affairs, a message regarding domestic affairs that need to change. Him also coming on and choosing to shake up the Supreme Court is very Mercury square Uranus coded. So something for you to think about for important themes that might arise. But this energy will take you back to, let me just pull up when it showed up for us. Take you back to July 24th, July 23rd. What was going on then? What was happening for you as an indicator for what might happen next? As you can see on the 18th, we've got the Sun conjunct Mercury. So this is a Mercury cazimi. There could be a lot of positive things that come out of this. Some new self-awareness. What I really like to use Leo season for, and like I said, Sag rising, fire rising, Leo falls in a great house in the chart in my ninth. It's a reset for me. It's a little bit of a reset. It's how do I finish off the last bit of my personal new year strong before the energy moves into Scorpio, right? The dreaded place. And things start to shift and change for me. And I'm okay, I need to rest. I'm trying to retreat. This is that marker, right? Of what am I going to commit to? What have I committed to? Am I happy there? Do I want to change it? That's a really great way, I think, for all people to look at Leo energy is here's a reset. And certainly when the sun and Mercury are meeting, hey, am I meeting all my goals? Am I with the people I need to be with? Am I happy? Like these are important things that are going to come up as well. And Jupiter is still square Saturn. Then we've got the sun squaring off with Uranus on the 19th. So this is a really important part of the chart and transit as well. This is also going to be the day Saturn and Venus officially oppose one another. So I wasn't playing when I said the middle of this month is like a shit show. But this is just, there's a lot of like coming to Jesus and like a lot of needing to be present and like not pushing off your feelings or your fears onto other people or running away. That's really what the theme of August. If you are mutable and you think you can run away in the month of August, you are dead fucking wrong and you will fail. You cannot run this month. It's just not going to work. You are going to come face to face with yourself, with other people, with things that are going to trigger you, and you need to be present in that reality so you can work through it and not run from it. And wherever this energy falls for you, if you are going to be feeling this, you're going to have to do it too. There's big changes. Now, with the sun square Uranus, you know, again, this is an opportunity to see something that there's something maybe that feels vital that I change because the sun is vitality. So a lot of times when I see the sun, I think of like health, wealth, you know, joy. I need to shift something. Funny enough, I was listening to Break My Soul. I hated that song when it first came out, but there's a song, there's part of it where she's like looking for something that lives inside me, right? And that's exactly what Sun Uranus is in my head. You just needed to maybe go a little deeper. Maybe you needed to have an experience. Maybe you just woke up with a start and had a eureka moment. But in any event, that is what Sun Uranus does. It is that, oh my God, I think I finally get it. Let me move forward on it. Let me jump on it. And this is great for fixed sign energy, right? Because what do fixed signs want to do? Be narrow-minded. Shift up out of that. God, this month. What other dates do I have here? Sun enters Virgo on the 22nd. So when the sun goes into Virgo, guys, this is a nice kind of beginning of the end of the year. Technically, Virgo season is the harvest season. So this is the time where you are going to likely be taking stock of things. Heads up, we are now fully, by this point, are in what I like to call eclipse season. That's right, guys. That is where we are when we enter this Virgo season, because 3 weeks from this time, we will have our first Virgo South node, Pisces North node eclipse, Virgo South node eclipse. That's going to kind of walk us into the beginning of next year when we will officially have the North node and South node move into 29 degrees of Virgo and Pisces. So additionally, as you can see here, we've got Venus in Virgo officially squaring off with Mars. Now, Venus square Mars is a tough transit to get ahead of because a lot of times when Venus and Mars are squaring one another, I'm going to have to turn on my regular light. A lot of times when Venus and Mars are squaring one another, what ends up happening is there's like a battle of wills, right? Venus is the connector. Mars is the disconnector. So what we can see is there's a feeling of needing to disconnect from something, maybe needing to disconnect from someone. This can even be disconnection from like feelings or something that we really wanted to start. Say you were like, oh man, I really want to start doing, I really want to make this Instagram page and I'm going to really, really get into it. And then all of a sudden, like I got discouraged. It's going to take me so much work. If anything, this Venus square Mars energy, because it's so mutable and because it's mercurial mutable at that, there is a hyper focus on the details. Please do not detail yourself to death. And by that, I mean, do not be so fearful of what it is that you are attempting to create and all of the little steps that you are so busy going over with a fine tooth comb that you don't have fun with it, that you aren't yourself, and that, yeah, you can have a structure, right? The Venus and Virgo part of this is going to really admire that you have a structure and a way that you're going about things. But with Mars and Gemini, you need to not be reckless and throw your hands in the air, throw the computer at the wall, like being so impulsive because things are not necessarily going perfect that you disrupt a really great connection or really great passion project that could be super exciting and beneficial for you. Okay. Shoot. So on the 24th, we're actually going to have Mars and I'm sorry, Venus and Mars. I already said that. Sorry. Oh, that's right. This is when Venus opposite Neptune is kind of sort of gonna start. And Venus opposite Neptune is super tough. This is fantasies. This is fantasies dismissed. A lot of times when Venus and Neptune come into play, it's so overwhelmingly goo goo gaga that it almost seems unreal. And that's because it usually is. And it's not to say that sometimes super serendipitous, perfect things happen that you would not believe. Fantasies can absolutely become reality. We know that. But this sometimes with Venus and Virgo and its critique of Neptune and Pisces, making things confusing, turning things around and changing it and going artsy, is going to really throw Venus and Virgo off and probably end up hurting Neptune and Pisces feelings, which could in turn be Venus and Virgo hurting their own feelings. This is like going out on a date with a person who you were really excited to be hanging out with. Maybe this person like told you that they really love French restaurants and like they started sending you their favorite French movies and they suggested the French restaurant and you get there and they don't know how to read the menu because they literally were just full of shit. That's quite literally what the energy of Venus opposite Neptune can be. It can also be the awareness. And like, remember that Neptune is also spiritual. This is a new awareness that comes in. For some of you, Venus and Virgo is going to be like, I see why that can't be that way anymore. I see why I can't be naive anymore. I see why I have to manage my money better, right? Because even though I think I have this much in my account, I forget about pending charges. I forget about ACH charges. I forget about things like that. And it confuses me. And I need to just be a better manager of money, right? I need to be better about my habits and routines. I said I was going to go to the gym every day. I've got to go at least, I can at least manage to go 4 or 5 times a week. Let me find a way to get that done. I cannot be disillusioned by this anymore. That's a big part of what Venus opposite like Pisces is like Pisces, as much as Venus can admire, or Virgo can admire Piscean's dreaminess, it still needs to see it. It's earth, it's tangibility. Pisces is water. Water is so fast moving and it can go anywhere and it's so expansive. And that's great, but Virgo needs to touch it. Virgo needs the detail. I want to believe and trust that you love me, but I also need to see the efforts of the love. So that's a big part of this Venus opposite Neptune that's going to be building. And it hasn't even gone official yet. But there could be parts of your life that you're starting to recognize that you've maybe worn the rose-colored glasses over that are just no longer allowed for you. It's time for you to elevate past that, right? We've got on the 27th Uranus trine Venus. That's really great. Venus trine Uranus can also, I always talk about it with Taurus and Virgo, right? Earth signs, Venus, and Mercurial. So, what building blocks do I need to make? What habits do I need to create to make my life more comfortable, to upgrade into new levels of comfort? For me, I know that, I don't have Virgo placements, but I have Taurus placements, and I'm kind of still in the middle of a Uranus moon conjunction. But this makes me think, for me, I feel oftentimes like I'm like, I'm ready to start doing more body care things. So, like, I was like looking up this stretch facility. I like, maybe I want to try Pilates. Like, I want to start getting massages twice a week. I want to do a colonic, like, like these new forms of body care that I'm interested in investing my money and time in, that I know are going to be great for my routines and habits that I'm build off of that, and also make me feel good. They're worthy investments. They're going to be good for me. So that could be something that's relevant for you. You know what? Meal prepping seems like a bitch, but it's really not. Listen to me. I would know. It's super easy. Like, but starting to do things and put things into place that are ultimately going to attract better towards you. There's also a lot of manifestation possibilities with this, if that is what you're interested in getting. Okay. Want to talk about the 28th because I think that this is a pretty important day, obviously. The 28th is going to find us in our opposition period, right? We're going to see that Venus will oppose Neptune later in the day. And so this could be a day in particular where we really feel it or we really see it. And it's one of those unavoidable things. Like this dynamic, this relationship with disillusionment, this relationship with confusion, this relationship with pretending. Ooh, I don't like the way that sounds for the US, is over, right? We are clear and aware that you are not who you say you are. You don't have what you say you have. It's Mars. I mean, again, it is a grand reckoning of sorts. Sometimes Venus opposite Neptune is, especially when it's in these two signs, it is a reckoning. I haven't said this yet, so sorry if you cut this off already, but your problem, bitch. COVID is going to pick up double, triple, quadruple time in August and become a huge problem as we head into September. So if you're a hypersensitive person, immunocompromised, please be safe out there. If you're not immunocompromised, wear a mask when you can. Support the people who might be. Support the kids, because there is a lot of energy for COVID to just pick up, because COVID was always a very Virgo Piscean thing. You guys remember March 2020 was when it all went down. And that like it kind of, every time we've dealt with Piscean energy, if you guys remember Jupiter and Pisces in late 2021, when we and into 2022, when we were having this influx of cases once again, we're seeing it already. I think that that's also going to be a large part of the journey of Jupiter and Mars in conjunction in Gemini and squaring off with Saturn and Pisces, is a lot of respiratory sickness, people having issues with their lungs, the healthcare system just being fucked up and likely like overrun. This can even mean like the technology of medical devices are maybe really low, they're not functioning well, or we're running out because there are so many people who are sick with respiratory diseases that there's just not enough equipment to go around and adequately serve. So this is something that I think is something I'm watching and being really careful and mindful of in my own life, that I think you guys should know because it is relevant for you as well. What else did I want to say here? Oh, okay. The 29th, Venus enters Libra. That's really nice. We like Venus in Libra. It's going to make a nice trine here to Pluto in Aquarius. So, what I got from this is there could be some feelings like I need to get up and I need to do something, right? Who do I share similar beliefs, similar, interests with, and how can I support them? How can they support me? How can we come together in some way? Now, Venus trine Pluto can also speak for like very direct communication, very clear, um, you know, boundaries and relationships being drawn where all parties involved can be really happy. This is very much, I want you, or, here it is, I'm giving this to you. So if any of you guys are out there looking for jobs, maybe this is an opportunity to really strut your stuff at an interview, get hired and get the things that you're looking for. But that is definitely in the cards for a few of you. All right. That is the long of it, the long and short of it. Um, I just wanted to kind of come in and do this. I know I haven't done anything video wise, but since we've been doing so many, like since I've been talking a little bit more about how transits and how charts work, I'm going to try to start doing these kinds of things more so you guys can really start to follow along and figure out how to read a chart. You can make it just as easy as I just did. So yeah, there you guys have it. Thank you for watching. If you aren't already a patron and really like this, go ahead because I might post this on my YouTube. So go become a patron, get all the knowledge you need, and start working with me to learn how to read your charts for things that are happening in the sky for you or just collectively, right? You guys heard me reading and talking about the United States. I didn't have that in front of me. I'm just knowing where placements are. And as a Sagirizing myself, it comes super fast because there's US is a Sagirizing, but you can do that. Okay. So that's what I've got for you. Thank you for being here. Love you. Bye. Oh man, that was supposed to be cooler than that.